Well, welcome to this segment of the Black Madonna Speaks on the Heart of the Black Madonna YouTube channel with me, your host, Stephanie Georgiev. I'm so pleased to be sharing this time with you, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Now, as you can see, for those of you who usually watch my channel, this is a little bit brighter than I normally have in terms of my slides, but I wanted to have sort of a bright launch to a new project, which I've actually been working on for quite a while, but finally I will be publishing the second of the Black Madonna Speaks series. The first was the Black Madonna Mysterious Soul Companion, and this next book is going to be on the Virgin of Guadalupe. And for those of you in North America, you know September 15th through October 15th is Hispanic Heritage Month. I don't know why they split it between 2 months, but they do. And so I wanted to get this out in time while it still was the Hispanic Heritage Month. And how could we recognize the wonderful contributions of all the many different people that make up the Hispanic population in North America without honoring their greatest patron saint, the Virgin of Guadalupe. Now, some of you will think, well, why the Virgin of Guadalupe? And what I wanted to say was that the Virgin of Guadalupe comes from Mexico, but she's considered a Black Madonna. And when I was first preparing for my first lecture series on the Black Madonna, way back when, for a Christian community conference on Staten Island in New York, I was Googling way back in those infancy day of the internet, and the Black Madonna was considered what a Virgin of Guadalupe was, and mainly because she's considered a mestizo, which means mixed blood. And so I included the Virgin of Guadalupe in that original series. And when I started writing my book, I decided to have a second book just before the Virgin of Guadalupe because it's such a profound subject and it's also very vast. So that's why there's this second book. And it will be called The Virgin of Guadalupe, Mysterious Messenger of Destiny. And this is the picture of the original image, which you can still see in the Basilica of Guadalupe in Mexico City. And what I talk about in this book is quite profound. But the reason I included Guadalupe in my original study is because what I'm seeing is these beautiful, mysterious images that are called Black Madonna, and it's a genre name, is that it shows this really interesting arc of the evolution of the Christ impulse, starting in the Holy Land and Africa, going through Europe, and arcing in the Americas. And so it's this really interesting arc, and also what I would call a lemniscate of the evolution of consciousness of humanity with these amazing works of art and miracle images, because the Virgin of Guadalupe is a miracle image. It doesn't really qualify as a work of quote unquote art. And if you want to learn more about that, you certainly can read my book. Now, the book will be available starting December 1st, 2019, and it'll be available through Amazon, Kindle, Nook, Barnes & Noble, and Audible. But there's a pre-order availability on Amazon. So if you are an Amazon person and you want to pre-order the book, that'll be launching. The live pre-order launch will be on November 1st. And then the publishing date where it will be available on both Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as well as Audible, will be on November 1st. I also wanted to tell you there's going to be a lot of live streams before then, where I'll be talking about my book, I'll be interviewed, and all sorts of lovely pre-publishing events, and we'll have a special Black Friday event, the Friday after American Thanksgiving. And we will have special prizes for people that tune in and order the book. You'll get a special prize if you order the book. And so there's a lot of really fun things coming up. So make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed. Make sure also to like the Heart of the Black Madonna Facebook page. I also have a blog, The Heart of the Black Madonna, on Blogspot. It's also called Blogger. And if you so choose, email me and give me your email address, and I'll put you on my mailing list that I do not share with anyone. And you'll get all sorts of updates on publications, free sample chapters, the invitation to live streams, etc. So if you want to be part of this, please let me know. Follow me somehow. And also, if you want, you can email me and I will put you on my email list. So this is a lovely modern rendition of the Virgin of Guadalupe. It's a mosaic. And what I wanted to do during our time together was just read a chapter of my book so you could get a little taste of what is to come. And this is chapter 5 of the Virgin of Guadalupe, Mystical Messenger of Destiny. It's chapter 5, and it's entitled The First Encounter with the Virgin. And this is actually my first encounter, and it's Mexico City, March of 2010. I was invited to give a lecture at the 2010 International Conference for the Christian Community. This conference, entitled Future Now, took place in Dortmund, Germany, for the Pentecost of that year. I was told to lecture on any subject I wanted that would relate to the conference theme, which had to do with the present and future of the etheric Christ. I offered several topics to the German organizer via email, and she graciously asked me to choose. I questioned her as to which topic she would be most likely to want to attend as a European. She replied, "The Virgin of Guadalupe, because we do not know much about that here in Europe." I submitted the course description and supply needs for the presentation and started to prepare for the lecture notes and handouts. I felt that because I was going to focus on Guadalupe and the spiritual destiny of the Americas, I should actually go and see the original image in her basilica, Basilica de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe in Mexico City, before I even attempted to lecture on the subject. As I grew up in Southern California, I had always felt that I actually lived in Mexico. In Santa Ana and nearby Los Angeles, if one did not know any better, one would think they were actually in Mexico. Our architecture, food, history, and especially where I lived, the majority of the population was Mexican in origin. Why would I go to Mexico? I was already there. In nearby Los Angeles, we even had a piece of the original Guadalupe tilma gifted to us by the Cardinal of Mexico City. The vibrant food, faith, and musical culture, friendly brown faces with only Spanish being spoken on the airwaves in churches, parks, and public transportation. All I had to do was travel a few blocks for an incredibly Mexican cultural experience. She was also everywhere. The Virgin of Guadalupe was on cars, on street corners, in small shrines, businesses, churches, billboards, and along highways. She was even the theme of many a tattoo of those who partake in such bodily art. During the time of my research on Guadalupe, the US-Mexico drug war had spiraled out of control. On a weekly basis, drug gangs were kidnapping Americans and Mexicans for ransom. The Mexican victims were often executed in spite of their loved ones paying the ransom. I had patients in my practice who had endured kidnappings in Mexico and had found refuge in Orange County. Decapitated corpses littered the Mexican and American border. Journalists were being killed, innocent children and youth gunned down randomly, politicians assassinated, all with seemingly daily occurrence. The violence and terror was executed for control of the lucrative US drug market. The US State Department was warning Americans not to travel to Mexico at the time I wanted to go. For the first time in my life, I was actually quite nervous to travel. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, mainly because I did not want to hear what I knew I would be told. My best protection was to look poor, which for some reason I do quite well, so no one would bother me. The resulting decline in tourism allowed me to find a very cheap direct ticket from Los Angeles to Mexico City, where the Basilica de Santa Maria de Guadalupe is located. I booked the flight and prayed to every being I could think of to keep me safe or make my death quick, because I really don't want to go into captivity under drug lords. At midnight of the day I was to leave, I boarded a plane with anticipation on what I would discover in this land which housed such mysteries, this land that had suffered so much under the hands of the Aztecs, the Spanish, the Americans, and now through organized violent drug cartels. I was a bit embarrassed at my ignorance of Mexican history and culture, as I had to put so much of my attention on European and Asian culture and the European colonization of America. How could it be that I had missed what was right in front of me most of my life? Why did this current violent situation in Mexico mean? Did it have any significance in the spiritual development of humanity? How did the Virgin of Guadalupe fit in with all of this? And did she have any connection with her sisters, Black Madonnas, in Europe? So the book goes on to talk about my visit to Mexico City. I went there first in March, in this chapter that I just gave you a little taste of. And then I also went during the Festival of Guadalupe, and then have some really wonderful experiences in Los Angeles that I talk about. And this is a picture of the altar in Mexico City. So again, the title of the book is The Virgin of Guadalupe, Mysterious Messenger of Destiny. The book will be available through Amazon, Kindle, Nook, Barnes & Noble, and Audible. The pre-publishing date through Amazon will be on November 1st. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Follow me on Facebook to get more updates on special deals that will be happening for people that pre-order as well as order the book. And it will be live on December 1st, 2019, just in time for the holidays and the feast of the Festival of Guadalupe. And I wish you blessings on your journey. Thanks so much for spending time with me.